Welcome to episode 20 of the Mobile Classroom, the weekly video podcast where we demonstrate today's most popular technologies. I'm James Messer, and in this episode 20, we're going to talk about making your own screen recordings. Now, obviously, I do quite a number of screen recordings. I do at least one every week, and I do many more than that because I'm also creating other training videos over on ProfessorMesser.com. And so as I go through and I make a lot of videos, I thought it would be interesting to show you the different options you might have, some things you might think about when creating videos for yourself, and some great free and commercial tools that you can use to do that. This week's Mobile Classroom podcast is absolutely free. You will see it from the very beginning to the very end without any editing, any cuts whatsoever. If you are a mobile member, you may know that if you've watched our videos before that every third video is just for you. It's a video that will be a sample out on the internet for everyone else, but if you're a mobile member, you get to see it all the way through, every third video. So next week is one of our mobile members only videos. Mobile members can also see every video in a higher resolution than most people. They are able to see 1280 by 720, 720p HD resolution. And if you're watching something on the screen and you're trying to make out what I'm clicking on, the 728, the 1280 by 720 version really gives you a very crystal clear view of exactly what's going on, because that's the resolution that I am using right now to record this entire podcast. If you'd like to know more about becoming a member and what some of those benefits might be to you, you can always come to our website at themobileclassroom.com/members. We're going to focus on screen recordings today, but I'm going to focus more specifically on grabbing screen information. Sometimes you don't want a movie, you just want a picture. What is the best way to go about doing that? In a Windows environment, you've got a few options available to you. If you are in a position where you would like to make a recording of the screen, maybe integrate some of the audio like I'm doing right now as I'm talking during this video, there are some options available to you that are absolutely free, some really nice things you can look at. And I'm also going to take you through a number of commercial options as well, some that are sort of free in certain places and then you can pay for a little bit extra, and then other versions you can buy right off the shelf that give you a fully blown commercial environment that you can work in. Let's talk about just grabbing some data. You want to be able to see on the screen a piece of information, share that with someone else, just a static photograph and image of something you have on the screen. Now on Windows environments, you have this funny little key. It's an abbreviation, print screen, PRTSCN. It's on your keyboard. Well, that print screen key originally in our older DOS days, during the time when we first had computers, when dinosaurs roamed the earth, that print screen key was great because you could plug in a printer to the back of your computer, hit the print screen key, and whatever was on your screen would be duplicated out that printer port and would be printed on the printer. Well, these days, the print screen key takes whatever you have on your entire screen and it puts it into the clipboard. So a little bit of an updated version of print screen in the Windows environment, but one that comes in very handy, and we're going to play around with that. There's also an additional capability you didn't have during the DOS days of alt print screen, which captures just the window that you happen to have selected on the screen. That's pretty useful as well. And then if you're running Windows Vista or Windows 7, you have some built-in programs that can help you snip out part of the screen, save it off to your clipboard, and do some other things with it. Let's test out all of these. Let's try out that print screen key. So on my screen, I've got a couple of Google Chrome windows up, one that's got the Mobile Classroom website, another one that's the main start screen with some other thumbnails in it. And if I hit the print screen, well, nothing happens. And that's exactly what is supposed to happen, is that nothing happens. At least to our eyes and ears, nothing happens, but behind the scenes, everything that was on our screen was put into the clipboard. Now, if you'd like to see that, I've also got right behind here, Paint.net, version 3.5.4. I'm going to click File New, and this says that I have just selected a width of 2,560 pixels and a height of 720. That seems like a lot. I thought we were running in 1280 by 720, but I'm going to click OK, so it creates a new image, or at least a new canvas with that image. And then let's do an edit paste. And it's going to take my entire window. The reason it was so wide was because over on my left-hand side of my screen is another image. It's another window. I have a completely different monitor over there. So when you do a print screen, it doesn't just grab what's on the monitor in front of you. It grabs it across all of your monitors and pulls it back here. Now, of course, this is paint.net. I can do editing with this. I can start zooming in on the window. I could start changing parts of this, cropping it out, and doing other things with it. It's an image at this point. I can really copy a section of it, crop a paste section of it out, and paste it into an email it off to somebody, save it as a file, put it on a website. And that's exactly normally when I'm working in my environment and I want to put these images on my website. That's what I do is I'll take a copy or a screenshot of the background that I have there with Alt print screen or the print screen key. And that's what I'll do. Now the Alt print screen key is really useful. Let's try that one out. Let's go back to our Chrome window and let's just do this mobile classroom window that's right here. It's relatively small. In fact, let's shrink it down just a little bit more. And let's say just that window is what we would like to capture. I'll hold down the Alt key. I'll hit print screen. And now let's go back to paint.net. I'm going to create a new document. Notice the size of this one is 878 pixels by 523. And if we perform an edit paste, it's exactly the window that we had highlighted when we hit the Alt print screen key. It's that easy. So here I don't even have to crop out anything else. I don't have to get rid of the background. It's all right here on my screen, exactly what I wanted to focus on. Now it's very easy for me to paste that into a message, put it on a website, or do something else with that image. I may not even have to edit this at all now, all because I was using that really easy to use key. If you're running Windows Vista or Windows 7, you even have another capability available to you called the snipping tool. This is the snipping tool. It just brings up this tiny little menu here. You've got an option to create a free-form snip, a rectangular snip, a window snip, and a full screen snip. And what that does is if I click, I'm going to choose rectangular snip and click new, I can now choose part of the screen that I would like to snip, even if it's across multiple windows. So a print screen gets the whole window, an alt print screen gets a single item that I've selected. Let's say I'd like to go across different applications. This snipping tool really comes in handy. And it's got a lot of other options in here. The moment I did the snip, it's now in my clipboard. I could paste it right now into my paint.net. There's some other options for a new one though. Let's say it's a free form snip. And notice I've got now little scissors as my icon, and I can now highlight an exact section, and it doesn't even have to be a complete section. And it's going to cut out for me just the section that my little scissors went by and cut out for me on the screen. And once you have it in here, you can do other things with it. You've got annotation capabilities where you can point at things. You can highlight different sections of the screen and explain to people this was the section you were most interested in explaining to them. And of course, you can maybe clean some of those things up. So if you happen to be on a phone call, you happen to be in a conference call, a web session, and you want to show somebody information, this is a great way to get things on your screen and highlight them and write on them and type information so that they can see exactly what you see and you can explain to them exactly what you mean with specifics as they see what you're doing on your screen. Really nice capabilities, and the snipping tool, because of its flexibility, comes in really handy for copying information and pasting it into presentations, emails, and other places as well. Still images are great, but sometimes a movie is everything. Having a video can really help you get across a point, and hopefully you're watching this video podcast, you get that idea. You understand the importance of video and what it can do. When you're putting together your own video, you need to think about the audience, especially the type of platforms that they might be watching this on. Do they all have Windows machines? Are there Macintosh machines? Are there Linux devices? What size screens do they have? Do they have high resolution image screens, monitors to look at, or are their monitors a little bit older and a little bit smaller resolution? And that will determine on the size that you're going to create your video whenever you start taking your entire screen and recording aspects of that. As you go through recording that information, timing is everything. How fast the video goes, or how slow the video goes, can have a big impact on how people are interested in the information you're trying to get across. Usually in videos, especially those that are online, Being very short and succinct is extremely important, and in the long run creates a more effective video than if you were to spell out every little thing and talk slowly in the process. And lastly, consider integrating audio. I've been watching a number of homemade videos, tutorial videos, and almost none of them, it seems, have audio associated with them. The idea is that if you're talking into a microphone like I am and you're following along with me on the screen, you can see me in the little window up top and you can watch what I'm doing on my screen. It becomes a lot more interactive. If you're putting text on the screen, you are getting the information across, but it's not quite as compelling as it is when somebody's right there and talking with you. Let's look at a couple of different options for recording information from your screen. Let's start with CamStudio. This is an absolutely free piece of software that you can find at camstudio.org. It's also open source, so you can see exactly how it was built. CamStudio is nice in that it is a really good recorder, and there are some very interesting capabilities in there that you don't tend to see other places. CamStudio also is able to store in some really nice formats so that when you go back later and you look at what you've recorded, it's a very crisp and clear screen. It's not that way with every single program out there. And I'm really impressed at what a free piece of software is able to do. Let's have a look at it. Here's the CamStudio program. It looks so simple. It doesn't look like there's much to making this run. And in fact, you would be right. It's an extremely simple program to use. But all of the options that you need for some very good screen grabbing, screen recording information is right here. The first three buttons, in fact, on the toolbar are things like recording, pausing, and stopping the recording. So I recognize that. Those are very familiar to me. I can toggle the view of what we're looking at. If you'd like to get rid of certain things on the screen, you can make it smaller or larger. And there's some other options here on, do you want to put information on the screen for annotations? So during the recording process, if you would like bubbles to pop up, an explanation of text to pop up on the screen, you can set timers and information with hotkeys so that as you're recording, you click a button and these annotations will automatically appear on the screen, and therefore they'll automatically appear in your recording. A nice little utility, a nice little function that you don't usually see in free recording software. And lastly, once you've made your recording here on the toolbar, you can take that and record it off to Flash or export it out to a very standard AVI format. Now, this has options that you would expect to find in a recording software. And as we were mentioning earlier, you need to understand your audience and think about the size of the video. And you can adjust the size of the video by determining what the region of the screen might be that you might be setting. You can create a particular region, you can create a fixed region, or you could say record the whole screen. In my case, I'm recording the whole screen. I'm doing a high definition, full-blown video podcast. And if people don't have the ability to see the full-blown one, I've made other versions of it that can go all the way onto an iPod or an iPhone. So I try to make my flexibility after the fact, whereby giving you as much view on the screen as possible. There's a number of options for your video to highlight the cursor information, to choose the compressor or the codec that will be used to save this data. And CamStudio has its own codec. This is really important because when you are compressing data into video format and uncompressing it later on just to be able to store it on your hard drive, that compression process can sometimes be lossy, which means when you look at your final result, it's pixelated, there's blurriness, it's not as sharp as it was when you saw it on the screen. CamStudio has a codec that is lossless, which means it will compress the data down, but when you decompress it, it looks the way it was prior to the compression. And you can adjust the quality of how it is saving this information over time. If you're going to use CamStudio, I highly recommend that you use this codec that comes with it. Very effective, very useful. And what I found with the codec is that I can't tell a difference once I'm done from my old screen that I recorded and the brand new version that I have on video. Another nice option that CamStudio has is an option called, under the options menu, here we go, Auto Pan. With Auto Pan, you can select a small region that you're going to record, but as you move your mouse around the screen, your camera moves along with the mouse, just like you are panning a camera from place to place, from one side of the horizon to the other. If you move your mouse from one side of the screen to the other, the camera will move with it. So you can still keep a very small resolution and everybody will be able to see where your mouse is on the screen, but you won't be able to pull it back wider. For instance, you're not zooming here, you're merely panning, but still nice functionality and built into this free program. If you're looking for something to do some very easy videos to record information on your screen, this is a fantastic tool to use. CamStudio is very effective to be able to do that. One thing you've noticed, though, is CamStudio doesn't have anything that it can use to edit these videos afterwards. So you're going to have to rely on other video editing software to be able to pull this information out of CamStudio to save it off as a standard format, perhaps an AVI format, which is very standardized, and import that video into a video editing program. Once you've done that, of course, you can do whatever you'd like with that video, but it's not something that's built into CamStudio. If you're in the market for a fully featured screen capture program, you'll probably at least want to take a look at TechSmith's Camtasia Studio. You can find this at techsmith.com. And although this is a commercial piece of software, it is extremely functional and very high quality. You're not only able to have a lot of options during the recording process, but afterwards there is a fully featured editing studio that you can use to edit your video, crop it, zoom in, zoom out, automatically set zooms, set annotations on the screen, set timings for those annotations. Really useful. You can also blend in other audio. You can blend in other video pieces. A really nice piece of editing software. It's not intended to be something as detailed as something like Adobe Premiere or Premiere Pro, but still extremely functional. And many people may find that all they need are just the editing pieces that are inside of Camtasia. Here's the Camtasia Studio front end. Once you've recorded your video, you might have something like this. Here's last week's podcast on how to protect your wireless network. I'm going to drag it and drop it down here on the storyboard, and I can change the dimensions of how I'm going to use this video, but I'm going to keep it with the recording dimensions of 1280 by 720 because I'm going to save it ultimately as that size. You can create other versions of this and do other things with it, but now you've got right down here a complete control of exactly what I was doing during my podcast. This is shrunk down to fit, but if I change it to 100% scale, you'll see all of the video is there, and it is crystal clear. It really is able to give you a lot of detail of what you are doing on the screen. And so whenever I produce this video, I know that the resulting screen grab is going to be of very high quality because I used Camtasia to capture it, to store it into its AVI format, and ultimately I export it out of this format into something that I can use in my Adobe Premiere Pro. It is a way to grab this information and do other things with it. If there's a section, though, that I like to get rid of, I can simply cut it right there and change the video itself. I can change exactly how far up this goes. I can change exactly what's seen on the screen. I can add annotations to this. For instance, here's some zoom and pan capabilities where I could, on this particular screen, I want to highlight something. I can zoom in on that part and get really, really close to it. And that looks good to me. We'll keep that zoom. So what happens is as you're playing this, and it will tell you inside itself down there from the other video that I had. Let's zoom up on this in our storyboard, and you're going to watch as the cursor gets over this particular section of what I've done in this podcast. Zoom up. You can even see where it's going to now zoom up on that section. And so I can even, once I'm finished editing all of my video, just save it out and be done with it and finished completely. I like to do some other things with the audio. I like to put my picture in a picture. There's some other advanced capabilities that I like to perform in Premiere Pro. But if I really wanted to produce this entire video in Camtasia Studio, I would be able to do it. It does picture in a picture. It allows me to cut and paste different sections in here. You heard the audio and the other capabilities with the video in here. So extremely functional in what I'm able to do. Because Camtasia is able to store everything in a Flash format, it even has some nice little capabilities like creating a quiz. So at the end of the video, you could have a quiz that people could not only see, but but they could click interactively on your video and it would take them to different sections of this video itself. So a really nice way to blend together these different technologies, not just a video, not just the audio that's there, but take advantage of the capabilities that are in Flash, the interactive functionality that you can have. And once you've described some functionality to people on the screen, give them a test. See if they remember what it was that they just learned. The last program I want to show you is TechSmith Jing. Jing is a bit of a hybrid between the image grabbing programs we were looking at as well as doing video capturing. So it does a little of both. You can see I've got a tiny little Jing icon up here on my screen now. We're going to dive into that in just a moment. Again, you can find Jing. It's from TechSmith, so you can find it on techsmith.com. The version we're going to look at here is a free version. Anybody can use it as much as they would like. It's intended to be free. This is not a trial version. There is a pro version of Jing available, for a very small amount of money every year. You can get some really nice capabilities. We'll talk about those in just a moment. What Jing does is integrate what you're doing with other things on the internet. Take what you're doing on your screen and give you a way to share that information with others. And a lot of this is going to take place over TechSmith's own capture and storage area where you can put your videos on their service, and then their service will charge you if you would like to have many people access that. The Jing Pro version gives you additional capabilities that integrate with other third-party storage facilities. So let's look at that. Here's the Jing website. You can see we can snap a picture, we can record video, and we can share it instantly over the web, instant messaging, and email. So there's not a lot of the advanced capabilities of some of the screen capture programs we saw, or even some of the video capture programs we saw. But sometimes you just want to grab information and share it with others. The free version allows you to do all of these things. You can even annotate a lot of the things that are on the screen. The Pro version, though, gives you a number of nice capabilities. First, you can upload not just to TechSmith's own storage, but you can go to YouTube, for instance, and Vidler and Vimeo. You can also have much smaller video files. You've got this really nice capability of enhanced video recording and full motion recording with H.264, which is the latest and probably one of the best codecs that's out there right now. And the Pro version also allows you to integrate a webcam. So I could technically record this entire podcast on a webcam. It would do a picture-in-a-picture for me. Some nice capabilities there. The Pro version, relatively inexpensive, only $14.95 a year. So this may be that good middle-of-the-road version that gives you some nice high-end versions, technical capability versioning for doing some screen captures and sharing that information, and a very low cost to go along with it. So certainly worth looking at. Let's try using Jing on my screen. I've got my Jing icon right behind me. So let's click on that. And I've got an option here to capture, to look at the history, or to change the options within Jing. Let's capture some information. And the first thing it does is say, where do you want to put this? What size do you want this capture to be? Maybe on my screen, I just want it to be that big. And once you have this, I've now got a 701 by 403 section of the screen available here. I can move it around if I don't like exactly where it is. Once I've got that, I can say capture it as an image. I can start capturing video. If you are running the Pro version, you can also record your webcam at the same time. You can undo or redo the things you just did, or just cancel out of here completely. If I capture the image, I now have an image that's pasted here. Let me get rid of my background so we don't confuse things too much. So here we go. There's my Jing. And I captured just this section of the screen. Now I have some annotation tools available to me. And I can put an arrow on the screen. I can add text to the screen. I can change the text and the type of format that is there for the text itself. Let me type something here. Text information. I can add other types of boxes and messages on here. Look at it, put the nice shadow around it. And these are objects. So once you have it on the screen, you can move those objects around. You can delete them. You can resize them. It's not changing the image itself. It's merely overlaying these capabilities right on top of it. If you don't like the red, you can always change it to something a little nicer, like a green, for instance. And then you can save that. You can You see you have the name right here of this. You can save that right here with the save button. You can share it right now out to the TechSmith screencast.com function that's out there. You can copy this if you happen to have Snagit on your machine, which is another commercial screen capture image capturing program from TechSmith. You can edit in Snagit, which also has some advanced editing capabilities, or you can cancel out of here completely with what you've done. But even right here, this is great. I could take this information, copy it to my keyboard, and it says now it's ready to be pasted. I can now go to my email program. I can go to my image editing program and do whatever I'd like from there. Now, if I'd like to capture video, it's the same process in Jing. I would select my capture area. Let's say I wanted to capture a video about capturing video in CamStudio. Choose capture video. It's going to go through 3, 2, 1, and now I'm capturing video. And you can see the annotation on your screen shows you that whatever's in that box you are currently recording. Once you've finished recording it, you can hit the stop button. It's now going to have that available on a screen right here. I'm going to turn this back up a little bit so you can hear it. And let's play through this. So I don't even think I chose to capture any audio with the version that we have here. If I had, you would hear me talking and whatever I was doing during that time frame. So there's a very simple way to capture the video. It sticks an ad on here at the end. If you are with the Jing Pro version, you don't get any of those logos or that message at the end. It's all everything that you would put into the video. Again, very inexpensive, in most cases absolutely free. Everything we've done so far with Jing has been absolutely free in this podcast. A really nice functionality, and because it's from TechSmith, these guys already know how to capture video. They already know how to capture images on my screen. They're simply extending that capability and the really nice functionality of some of the things they do into this program called Jing. We've come to the end of another episode of the Mobile Classroom. If you'd like to follow what we're doing, you can always visit our Facebook page or follow us on Twitter, twitter.com/mobileclassroom. Of course, you can always send me an email at james@themobileclassroom.com. Thanks for joining us this week. We'll see you next time on the Mobile Classroom.